Five, four, three, two, one.
Hey, we're here with Matt Garstka from Animal as Leaders. He's conducting a drum clinic here in Malaysia. This is the first time here in Malaysia, Matt?
It is.
Alright. So, to start it off, I just want to mention, how old are you exactly?
26.
26, so you're relatively young, quite new to the scene. I mean, I tried to Google you and stuff, and I can't seem to find a Wikipedia page for you.
Yeah.
So you're quite new to the scene. Now, so not a lot of people know about you. I tried to Google you and stuff. So maybe you can enlighten us a little bit. Can you give us a little bit of your musical background?
Sure. Yeah. I've been playing since I was 8 years old. My father's a professional guitar player, so he kind of got me started in music, and he also owned a music store. So I kind of went next door and started jamming on the drums, and they saw that I was taking to it naturally. And yeah, within a couple years, my dad had me gigging out with him. So I was playing gigs since I was like about 10 or 11 years old. You know, functions and events and town festivals and even bar gigs.
At that age,
at
at
a young age. But it was a good experience, and that was like more classic rock, blues, reggae. And then when I was 14, I came in contact with Joe Salins, and he had me, playing jazz, funk, fusion, Latin, and some African. And yeah, the whole while I was jamming with people my age as well. Putting together like ska bands, punk bands, reggae bands, jam bands. I don't know, you name it. But yeah, I've had a pretty diverse background, I guess. But yeah, I've stayed gigging since that age. So then I went to Berkeley, and I was...
At what age did you went over to Berkeley?
I right out of high school, so I was 18 years old, and I started playing with Gugby System, and we toured, we did festivals, did the Montreal Jazz Festival. I played that when I was 19. That was an honor for me, as well as Detroit Festival of Colors, Floyd Fest, all these other world music festivals.
So if you had to say what your drumming style was, what would that be? What's your genre? I mean,
my drumming style is the Matt Garstka drumming style.
How would you describe that? Is that like a jazz?
Well, describe it. Yeah. Okay. So I've played jazz, funk, fusion, reggae, hip hop, metal, punk, classic rock, pop, country, all this stuff that I've played, has kind of become a part of me, so I might not notice that there's a little bit of country in me, or that there's a little, bit of reggae in my gospel chops or whatever, I don't know, man. Overall, I'd say I'm a fusion head, and not just in the traditional sense of fusion, but in the sense of mixing genres. That's what I like to do, and it's hard to nail down and say this is my style. This is a genre that I stay within, because a genre is a name, it's a category, it's a label, it's a box that you put something in after it's been created. But if you always said, what is this? What we have to define what it is before we know what it is, then none of these new styles would be created,
Fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. Now, since you've been playing a lot, and I understand that you recently joined Animal as Leaders sometime last year?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Oh yeah, okay. Wow, that's a long time. Okay, so I understand that you joined them for the latest album. They came out with 3 albums. You've been in the latest album?
Yes.
Which came out last year?
Motion.
Okay, alright. So how did you go about joining them?
Well, I was recommended through a mutual friend, and yeah, I had just moved to LA, and I was looking for work. I was looking for a band. I was looking for anything. I just moved out there, like on a hope and a dream, without, knowing who I was gonna play for or anything. And when that idea, when my friend told me, recommended me for that, I was like, oh my God! I was like, this would be it, because like this is like totally, my style. It would, it's progressive. It's got, the hard, the metal side. It's got these, the kind of jazzy style to it. This other stuff. So it was really cool to like imagine playing with them, and I had already actually
Heard of them prior to that?
yeah I had been listening to the first album for like a while, like in my car all the time, and yeah, I was on like my list top 10 like bands I would join. I do this thing where like I try to write down goals and like ultimate dreams or whatever, and like that was like one of the ones on my list, along with Periphery and Meshuggah and Dave Matthews Band and Chicoria and
But so
Victor Wooten.
prior to that, you didn't know any of the band members at all.
I didn't.
You didn't. Okay, so it was you just like you just went there. You went for an interview or something. You gonna try out?
Yeah, it was actually many. It was like we're just kind of playing together, playing the songs, and we'd play together like a couple times, or 2 or 3 times a week, and they'd give me a new song every once in a while, and I knew that it was the opportunity was for playing in Europe, opening up for Meshuggah, or direct support to Meshuggah, and so I was like stoked about that. But yeah, it wasn't until like like a week before the tour that they were like, that I was like, dude, am I in the band or what? And then they're like, yeah, you're like, you're gonna do the tour. And then I'm like, okay, so I'll do the tour. All right.
Okay, so then when you first started joining the band and you guys came up with the album, how much did you contribute to the creative ideas, the creative process? Was it mostly Basi?
Yeah, it's mostly Tosin. He comes up with the riffs and stuff. But yeah, there's a couple things on there that I contributed to, just like rhythmic patterns or whatever. And yeah, but for the main part, it's his riffs, and then off of that, interpreting those, playing those on the drums.
So how would you say the creative process is like? Do you guys sit separately and then someone comes up with something and you guys come together? Or do you guys actually sit down, all 3 of you, and come up with something?
That's top secret. I can't divulge that information. It's I would have to kill you.
Fair enough. Now, you just mentioned that you've been touring, you've been playing at bars and all that since you were 10, 11.
Yeah.
So I suppose joining Animal as leaders, they're relatively a lot older than you. So that did not pose any problems whatsoever. They didn't treat you like a
They're
new guy
not
when you
really
came along?
like when I think about it, like they're not. Like I was playing with people that are like 40 when I was 11 years old, and they're 31 and 33, I think. So they're only like 5 years older than me.
True.
So
That's really no big deal for you.
yeah, I mean, yeah, there's been far more differences my entire life. So it's actually the first time that I'm in a band with people that are,
Closer in the age
on
gap.
the same level as me. That there's like not a huge age gap.
Okay. Now, moving on to a little bit more technical stuff. Now, your drumming style. How do you find coping to fitting into the AAL style? Did you struggle? Did you incorporate a lot of style into the drummings, or did you carry on from the previous albums, try not to shape the shape of the music too much, or do you just make it your own?
I mean, yeah. At first, the first reaction you have is, and this is something I've been kind of trained to do, learning different styles is like play, the music or play that style, play that, But it's like animals as leaders really like just this one kind of thing? No, it's like an amalgamation of things, and what makes it awesome is that it feels so free. So I had to kind of adjust my thinking and say, I'm gonna try not to be, I'm not gonna try so hard to be animals or whatever, like animal style. Like I'm gonna just do me, like instead of trying to be me or trying to be animals or whatever. I feel it's best to just kind of trust and,
And they have no problems with that. I mean, adjusting to you. Do they have?
I mean,
Do they make
there's
impossible demands to you?
they've made impossible demands, yeah, but I made it possible. Like, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, some of the stuff is like really challenging.
But you embrace the challenge, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta embrace it.
Alright, and now you're the kind of drummer who's been playing all kinds of music. Now in terms of kit, how do you go about finding your sound for different kinds of music? Is that like just walk me through the different kind of sounds that you go for different kind of music? Like say playing jazz, what kind of music sound do you go for? When you go for metal, what sound do you go for?
Yeah, I used to do a lot more of that. I don't really do that anymore.
You don't?
No. 'Cause that's, you're just recreating what's already happened, and to an extent, that's, all that we're doing in this creative process is we're taking what's already been done and we're molding it and using the resources that are already there and reconfiguring them into something new. But yeah, if you that type of thinking can be a pitfall because you can end up never being creative and always saying, oh well, people haven't done that before. They haven't used jazz cymbals in metal, so I wouldn't want to do that. I need to use metal cymbals, but if I'd have done that, I wouldn't have any of the cymbals that I have right now, so to an extent, you've got to let go of that. And there's the practical aspect too, though, which is very real. Like, okay, am I really going to be able to play, say you're playing metal, you're playing blast beats, am I going to really be able to play these blast beats on these super thin jazz cymbals and like this super loose snare, like doing stuff at those tempos? Practically, no, it's not very practical, but with animals, I've been able to overcome that type of stuff.
All right.
For instance, like, I was using like these Thomas Hawk sticks, like really big, bigger than tubies, and that was really good for the heavy stuff, and it sounded fatter, everything sounded fatter, but I was like, man, like the chopping, all the like extra stuff was a lot harder. My hands would get fatigued a lot quicker, but eventually I adapted to it, so it was all okay.
Okay, all right. So now we're on to the last part of the interview. The clinic. So this clinic, is it part of a tour?
Yes, it's a clinic tour.
It's a clinic. So is
8 dates. Yesterday was Singapore.
Okay, so you just flew in yesterday or this morning?
This morning.
You just flew in this morning?
Yes, and then I have 6 dates in China.
Alright, so, okay, so 2 in Southeast Asia, 6 in China. So this is the second one. How was the reception back in Singapore?
It was great. I loved it.
So, let's say some of our viewers missed out in the clinic. So what are they missing out on? What do you want them to gain from it if they were here?
Hold on. What are they missing out on, or what are they not
Yeah,
getting?
I mean, what are they missing out on, by not being here?
Well, I guess you'll never know. That's the whole thing, you can't know what you're missing out on if you're missing out on it, you know. But for me, what I have experienced at clinics is I always feel more inspired. It always gives me ideas, different ways of thinking, different perspective. It you know, it's a mold between just a lecture, like, you know, educational, and a performance. So it's meant to be educational, but also really inspiring for people. And yeah, so if you're a really advanced player, you know, not just the concepts are gonna help you, but you know, you'll be able to see, you know, my playing up close, you know, and personal in a variety of contexts. So I'm doing some like some tracks that are like, you know, shed type tracks. I'm doing animal songs. Got an Afro-Cuban jazz project song I'm playing to. I got some machine drum stuff. I got like metronome, you know, stuff that I'm playing to, different grooves, and yeah, so it's exciting. It should be exciting.
Okay, all right. So I was gonna ask you, you know, what are you gonna focus on? What are you gonna emphasize for the drum playing? But you know what? I'll just stay for that. Now, okay, to finish it off, for the younger drummers out there, you know, aspiring drummers, what would your advice be to them? What would you know, ask them to emphasize on?
And this is a really hard question because, you know,
Something that, you know,
it's like the, you know, have you ever heard the 10,000 hour rule?
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like 10,000 hours of something. So that means 3 hours a day, you know, times 365. That's approximately, you know, 1,000 in a year. So that would take you 10 years to get that. If you only do 3 hours a day. You know? If you do 6 hours, you can get there in 5 years. You know, so it's like there's a certain like I always struggle with this question because I want to give the best advice. I want to give the piece of, that's what you're asking me for.
Yeah, exactly.
You're asking me for the piece of advice. What's the secret? But there's no one secret, man. It's like that's what the 10,000 hours thing is about. You know, it's not you know, saying that it's like a exclusive club. It's just like, you know, a certain amount of, you know, struggling and you know, practice and experience and thinking about this stuff and all that you know, gives you the unique perspective of a professional, of somebody who's at a certain caliber. So I ask you to unask the question.
Ask the question. Maybe we can edit that in the video a bit later.
No, I think you should keep that in there. I think people should know. There is no one secret, you know. It's many things. If it was one secret, it would be really easy, right? I mean, it's like life. It's like, what's the secret to life?
I wish you could answer
You know,
that.
being happy. Yeah, being happy. Well, how do you be happy? It's different for everybody. Oh, well, money makes some people happy. Love makes other people happy. Sometimes hate makes people happy. Like, there's all types of, some people are just happy just with a nice meal, you know, and getting fat and old, you know? Like, there's no one answer, you know?
Fair enough. No, because you see, the thing is, I've interviewed some drummers, some guitarists before and whatnot, and they would say that, you know, nowadays, modern kids, new kids, they just only, you know, practice on solos, and then they strum like shit. So, you know, they would ask, you know, the younger guitarists to focus on certain things. So that I was hoping that maybe, you know, in relevance to the younger drummers that you have come across upon, you know, what are their habits, the most common habits that you see in younger drummers, and you know, what would that? Do they focus like only on metal and then not diversify?
Okay, so you want me? I'll do it. I'll do what you're asking me to do. Okay, so these kids, these freaking kids, you know what they gotta stop doing, or what they gotta start doing is repeating. Like, you know, it's not about people not knowing. It's about people understanding, like, in a deeper way, not just understanding mentally, or just because you can't understand something mentally doesn't mean you don't feel that there's a cycle happening. Like I could play you a polyrhythm and you'd be like, man, I don't understand that, but I can tell that like it's looping around, that the same thing's kind of happening. I can tell there's structure there. So I guess what I'm saying is, I would encourage young people to, think about this other side of music, developing motifs and phrasing and speaking,
Right, that's good. I'm happy with that answer. With that, we're going to end our interview with Matt Garstka from Animal as Leaders. Matt, if you have a good for us, chat me.
Thank you.
Alright, thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll take more of your time because I understand all that.